Yes, you're listening to the Jon Krawczynski Show, and you have made a wise choice. It's always a good idea to listen to the show to find out what's going on with the Timberwolves. But man, right now, it's just so much fun. Last year was a blast. This year was a struggle, and now it's a blast again. Hey, we're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios. We want you to know we're presented by Giggly THC Beverages. Promo code is Giggly North to get 50% off your first order, and I highly recommend ordering some. We're also presented to you by Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood. Thanks to all of our sponsors, all of our listeners. Again, it's been a blast of a season. John and I are talking here on Thursday. We were up late last night, Wednesday night, writing about the Wolves winning another series in 5 games. So, John, biggest to big picture, before we even get to Timberwolves' big picture stuff, what a great 2-year run.
Man, it is crazy, Jim. You know, I did find myself a couple of times during both series with the home games, sort of right before the game started, just kind of taking a look around and sort of resetting myself and understanding that we are in Target Center. It is packed to the gills. It is getting mid to late May. And this is now becoming the Timberwolves experience. Like forever in my time on this beat, the season was over April 13th, April 14th, regular season. And then it was cross your fingers and hope for ping pong balls and see if you get lucky and get some kind of a savior. But to see how far this team has come, I thought it was really appropriate, Chris Finch's kind of statement that he had. You could tell he had it in the holster waiting after this game. He said before the season started, he had a question or a challenge for the team. He said, are you a Western Conference Finals team, or are you a team that just happened to make the Western Conference Finals? And what they have proven through this run and really over these last 2 games or 2 years is that they are a legitimate Western Conference Finals team. And to think about what this organization has symbolized for so long, and now it is very much so one of the best run, most competent, most stable organizations in the league. And now it is in back-to-back Western Conference Finals. I mean, it's almost too much to even consider. It blows your mind for real. Like, it's incredible.
This organization and the fan base have earned the right to be disappointed when they lose an individual playoff game.
Yeah. And I do think, I absolutely think that the fan base has sort of, you can feel them wrestling with this because I think they are still trying to shed the psychosis of all of these years of all of the men's sports failures. And I don't blame them for that. But there are moments in every single game, Jim, every single game where the Wolves struggle for a little bit. It is basketball. That happens. And yet it's pull your hair out. It's this is over. It's fire Finch. It's trade this guy. It's can't you play Terrence Shannon? It's all of these things. And so you can see that this fan base understandably does not know really how to handle a team that does take care of business, that can be trusted a little bit here. We're not saying they're going to the finals. We're not saying any of that yet. But what we can say is that this is a team that now looks like one that can lose a game in a series, that can have a bad quarter, that can, struggle for stretches and still be just fine and still figure it out. And that's exactly what they did in both of these series. And it is going to take time for everyone to get their minds wrapped around that you might actually be able to trust the Minnesota Timberwolves. It's really crazy to say those words. I understand, having covered this team for now 21 seasons. But I think that's the point that I'm arriving at. You can trust Tim Connolly that he knows what he's doing when he makes a trade. You can trust Chris Finch that he knows what he's doing when he keeps the rotation at 8 players. You can trust Anthony Edwards after he turns the ball over a couple of times that he's going to settle himself down and make the right play. You can trust that Mike Conley is going to come up big in a big spot even though he had looked old for, the first part of the game or the first series, or it looked like a bad matchup. You can trust Julius Randle to play great basketball in the playoffs when previous to this, he had never done that. It's just like it is. There is so much trust that is building. It is not quite fully sunk in yet, you can see, but that's where we're at right now. And it's been really interesting to watch this season, because last year, Jim, was house money, right? It was unexpected, kind of out of nowhere. Every win was a plus, and this was just great. This year, there were expectations. This year was hard. There were frustrations, and they still found a way to get through it. And they are gaining the benefit of the doubt here in this market and in this league in a way that they were so far from for most of their existence.
No doubt about it. And, you cover you're the Timberwolves expert, and you also dabble in other sports, especially the Vikings. I am not with the Timberwolves every day the way you are. I cover all the sports, and it just become a common theme. Okay. O'Connell had one bad season, his second season in, and I was getting texts from friends of mine who are intelligent people and Viking fans, lifelong Viking fans. They got to get rid of him, right? Got to fire him, right? Mm-hmm. No, you don't. 2 weeks ago, not only were people calling for Rocco Baldelli's head, you could actually build a legal case that it was time for him to go. I didn't agree with it, but you could build, you had a body of work you could work with there. Now they've won, I think, as we speak here, I think they're winning their 11th straight. Chris Finch, takes, again, the signature victory in franchise history, Game 7 at defending champion Denver, and a matter of months later, people want to get rid of him. You got to let people work a little bit. There's always time to fire people in the future. You fire them at the wrong time, and you might destroy your franchise.
Yeah, and I do think that I will say I understand the Timberwolves fan or the Minnesota sports fan experience in terms of they are operating from a base level of this is not going to work. They're going to hire this person. He's not going to be good enough. They're going to trade for this guy. He's not going to be good enough. They're going to draft this guy. They should have drafted another guy. And because they have been conditioned to believe that, because that's all they've seen for so long, especially in the Wolves organization. And so it is hard to put all of that behind you when that was how you were raised. They were essentially in a bad home as kids, these Wolves fans. And so they distrusted the people who were making the decisions because so often those decisions were the wrong ones. And so that's why when Tim Connolly comes in and he trades for Rudy Gobert, this is an incredible mistake. What are you doing? When he trades for Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, incredible mistake. Awful. When Chris Finch will not bench Julius Randle for Naz Reid, idiot coach. What is he doing? When he doesn't call the timeout in the exact right time, fire him. And what you and I have tried to convey on this show over and over again, we are now, we're like 503 episodes into it now or something.
And by the way, we have passed our 500th episode, and I just blew it. I just forgot to mention it because I'm scattered. I'm an idiot.
You're locked in.
Next time we have a live show, we will celebrate the 500th ish Jon Krawczynski episode. And by the way, John, thank you for being on the network. Thank you for jumping in before we really knew what we were doing. Thanks for staying with us. This show is one of our most popular shows. It's one of the most fun to do. So thank you. Thank you to all the listeners who put up with me while you're listening to John. We really appreciate it. So thank you for all that. Now I'll let you continue, John.
Yeah, no, well, thanks to you and Talk North for, you were the one that approached me with it years and years ago. And we were making maybe $100 a month in the first part of it. Thank you, Steve Terry. But it's really grown and been remarkable. And thanks to all the listeners for staying with us and growing with us. But yeah, I understand why the fans are, classically conditioned to believe that it's not going to work. But we are now seeing repeated instances and examples of the right things happening for this franchise. Julius Randle is playing the best basketball of his life in part because of the way that Chris Finch has helped him along. Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, they've all developed and blossomed into stars or borderline stars in the league because of the coaching. Tim Connolly recognized that Rudy Gobert was a floor raiser, and he's been every bit of that and more. And so again, it does not guarantee that they are going to win a championship, that they're going to even get to the finals. But I think what it does is it stops this endless cycle of embarrassment and dysfunction and causing fans to want to stick their head in the sand or to sheepishly say, yeah, I'm a Timberwolves fan. Now you can say it with your chest. Now you've beaten the Lakers. Now you've beaten the Suns. You've beaten the Warriors, even though without Steph, you beat Jimmy and Draymond. Like these are things to be proud of. These are things to celebrate. These are things to embrace. It doesn't mean you can't question leadership. It doesn't mean you have to take everything at face value and just march along. But you can get behind these Wolves and you can believe in them because they have been built the right way. They are stable. They are not knee-jerk in their reactions. And that is the mark of a consistent and competitive franchise.
Yeah. And Connolly, I earned the reputation as a ripper when I first became a columnist, in part because I thought that was the role I had to play with the newspaper. I was one of the few people who had the license to do so. If somebody needed to be ripped, it was going to be me or Royce. The other thing was I covered so many incompetent people. And it was such a disappointment for me to cover people who didn't know any more about their sport than I did. You should know more than me, Yeah. And now it's such a pleasure to watch people like Connolly and Finch operate, to watch true experts, people with some not only knowledge, but some wisdom operate. It's so much more fun to watch people like this work.
It is. And also to it not even just in the decisions that they're making, which generally speaking have really, really worked out. But also in the way that they go about leading the franchise, their demeanor, their leadership style, their ability to kind of bring everyone along with them, I think is crucial. I don't think there's ever been a period in this franchise where front office, coaching staff, players, and business side have been as in lockstep together as they are right now. And also kind of in a little bit more of the weeds, but Jim, you know this, there is no more accessible franchise in the town than the Wolves. You want to talk to Conley, you can get him. You want to talk to Finch, you want to talk to an assistant coach, you want to talk to the players, you want to talk to a trainer, you want to talk to anyone in the organization. They are genuinely available to speak to the media, which means they are accessible to the fans as well. And so it's just run really, really well right now. And that, I think, helps them really navigate the ups and downs of a season like they did this year. There were plenty of times they could have panicked, could have traded someone. They could have fired Finch when they were, 8-10 or something like that. They could have done all sorts of different things, but they didn't. They didn't trade anyone, to just say, oh, this isn't going to work. Let's just cut costs and start over. They stuck with it. And that's a testament to everyone up and down from the front office and coaches to the ownership to everything that they've gotten to this point. It's really impressive.
Let's get into the details now. There are a lot of details worth talking about. Reminder, we are presented to you by Giggly THC Beverages, GIGLI.com. Order it. Use the promo code GigglyNorth for your first order, and then keep on ordering it, like myself and my wife have. Bold flavors, bursting with flavor, real fruit juice. They're all natural. You won't have a hangover. I use the 5 THC because that's just the right level for me to take a little edge off and sleep well. But some people like the 10 THC, and it depends whether you're looking for fun or relaxation. It can de-stress you. It can help you sleep. one of our guys that Talk North says it actually helps with his neck pain just because it relaxes him. He's a hard driving guy, and having one of these settles him down. I just can't recommend it enough. And again, I drink it all the time. My wife drinks it all the time. When we have Talk North meetings, everybody in there is drinking it all the time. We don't have to. We could just read the script and let it go at that. I'm telling you, I drink the stuff. I love it. It tastes great. It's been good for my life. I love drinking something and not having a hangover the next day. So check out giggly.com. Giggly North is the promo code. Thanks also to Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood.
If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than our good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or east side of the Twin Cities, they've got you covered with two great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
Good stuff. And thank you to Lexus and Giggly for jumping on. We appreciate it. We'll get to our other sponsors here in a second. So let's go to, something I wrote about today and something you've been writing about all season. Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, they come over. It's obviously they weren't happy about the trade. They try to be professionals, but there's still the human element. They get off to a slow start. The team gets off to a slow start. And I found it interesting when I'm talking to Dante on Wednesday night. I mentioned, hey, you guys are 25-6 since Julius came off the injury. And he said, well, I was out with him and we sat there and we tried to figure stuff out. And it's just fascinating, and that's the other, to me, one of the most fascinating things about sports is losses aren't always bad. Wins aren't always good. Injuries aren't always bad. These guys sat there when they were injured and figured out how to play with the rest of the Wolves. And if they hadn't been injured together in February, who knows?
Who knows? You're right, Jim. When I look at the two of them, I do think that let's kind of just lay out how both of them received the trade. I think my impression is that Julius Randle wasn't mad about the trade. He actually figured that his time with the Knicks was going to be coming to an end, but he was more shocked that it came when it did, right before the season. So I think he was stunned by it. I think Dante was more hurt by it. Like, I really do believe that. I think that he had such a great playoffs with the Knicks, had some huge moments, made some enormous shots, was a fan favorite. And for him to be included in the deal and sent out again right on the eve of training camp with his fiance and his young child, and having to move and all of that and all the hecticness of it, I think that hurt him. And I think he was ticked off about it. But both of them needed time to acclimate, figure things out, settle in, all of those cliches you want to use. And I do think, to your point, Jim, that time on the sideline for them, late January, early February, I think was important in terms of, one, it did help them look at the game, just talk it through, see their teammates from a different angle, all of those things. But I also think that it helped them just catch their breath for a minute. Like we're talking, trying to move across the country, and then literally the next day you're at practice with your new team, figuring things out. And so I think that, and then when you get into training camp and then you go into the season and it's game after game after game, and there's a few practices, I think they both needed a little time to just sit down and clear their heads and figure things out a little bit. And so they both come back. Credit again to the Timberwolves training staff and medical staff, Aaron Searer and David Hines and all the guys, all the people there who work with the Wolves through their injuries, because they both came back in great condition and ready to go. But then they really took off from there because they were able to just get their feet underneath them. And it turned out to be perfect timing, because then they come back. They're 17-4 down the stretch of the regular season. It's 8-2 in the playoffs. Don't forget, they were 5-0 before Julius got hurt. So they're technically 30-6 in their last 36 that they have played with Julius Randle. So uh, it, it was time was needed for both of them. And it just kind of really did help pull them together, get their heads out of the, to stop spinning. And they came back and they've been firing ever since. Good for Dante as well. He did not have a good series up until game 5, played really well last night. 13 points, +7, 6 assists, 4 steals.
Just one turnover.
Just great. And Julius, MVP of the series, without question. MVP of the series. Just the Warriors, Steve Kerr was just lauding him, and Draymond Green were both lauding him after the game, just saying they couldn't stop him. They could not stop him. And so that was incredible.
I want to get, we have so many other things we can talk about, but I want to get to Mike Conley next. Quickly, though, tell us about, first of all, I want to hear home services. Again, we're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studios.
Scott with Aquarius Home Services. Spring was all over the map, shoveling snow one day and enjoying the warm sun the next. But now we all know the real heat is coming.
Are you ready?
Get ahead of it with 50% off an AC tune-up. We'll give your system the VIP treatment, review the details, and answer all your questions. At Aquarius, we aim to wow you with incredible service and earn the right to be recommended. Visit AquariusHomeservices.com today.
And as John mentioned earlier, it was TSR Injury Law. It was Steve Terry who helped us get through the early days while we were putting this whole network together. I started this thing with very little money and very few shows. And we needed those early sponsors, people like Steve Terry, people like Scott Dayton with Twill, to get us rolling. So thank you to Steve. And a reminder, if you are injured, you do want Steve's company and you want Steve's help. And not because of Nas Reed, we love Nas Reed, but because they will actually help you and they will not charge you unless they win your case, and they win lots of cases. 612-TSR-TIME, 612-TSR-TIME. You know the number and you know what to call if you were ever injured. Thanks also to Royal Credit Union.
Boost your savings when you open a money market account at Royal Credit Union. For a limited time, you can get a $1,250 bonus when you bring $100,000 or more in new money to open a personal or business money market account. Royal's money market accounts have no monthly maintenance fee and tiered rates, so higher balances earn more. See details and open a money market account today at rcu.org/earn-more. Minimum deposit of $100,000 required to obtain bonus. Offer ends 5/24/25. Insured by NCUA.
All right, so Mike Conley, another guy on this team who's had his ups and downs, and Finch could have justified benching him at some point this season, and he sticks with him. And Conley has a big game 5, and even in the games he wasn't particularly good, he's at least a calming influence out there.
Just incredible, timeliness for him. When you look at it, another case, Jim, where just, why are you sticking with the old guy? Why do you keep running him out there? Well, because at the start of game 5, the team looked a little tight. They're missing a bunch of shots. They're kind of letting the Warriors hang around. And who is the one that knocks down shots and gets them going? It's Mike Conley. And who is the one who plays great defense and takes Buddy Hield completely out of the game? It's Mike Conley. And so he has just built up so much equity since he's come over in this trade, that you just trust that he is going to find a way in the biggest spots. There have been times in these playoffs, times in this season, especially in the first couple of months, where you're just like, boy, he looks old. He might be cooked. It might be over for Mike Conley, but it just never has been. He just keeps going. Chris Finch keeps putting him out there because he knows what Mike Conley represents. And all this guy does is come through. And Jim, when you listen to teammates talk about what Mike Conley means to them, it's incredible. I've never heard teammates speak about how badly they want to win for someone else like they speak about Mike Conley. They know that he might have 1 year left. He might have this year, next year, something like that. And as badly as they all want to win, Julius Randle and Rudy have both been in the league 10 plus years. They certainly want to win for themselves. DiVincenzo wants to win for himself, and all these guys want to win. But even more than that, they want to win for Mike Conley. That's what he means to them. That's what they want to see happen. And it's, he has just the complete faith and trust of everyone in that locker room and on that coaching staff, and he earns it every single time he comes up big like he did in Game 5.
When we did our live show roundtable, and Mark Rosen asked us about Ant, is he the next Moss? Because that's the easy comparison to make in this market. These Ants had some things off the court haven't been perfect, and you and I both said the same thing. You got to understand, whatever you think of, Ant, he's a really good teammate. And he cares about his teammates, and he's a great part of the organization. I was thinking about Moss. They got rid of Moss because they couldn't have him in the building anymore at a certain point. Ant is the opposite of that.
Jim, I was thinking about this last night, and you are as equipped to talk about this as anyone. We have seen plenty of stars come through here in, the last 30 years. Moss, Carter, Kevin Garnett, like all, Torrey Hunter, Joe Mauer, Justin Moore, all of these guys have come through and have had great careers. Some of them have won, fairly big. Some of them have not. All of that. I think that Ant, as a player, as a personality, all of those things, I think he's as close to Kirby as we've gotten. The way that he commands a room, his charisma, he has this confidence about him and this swagger, but he also has this very kind of chuckly, bring a smile to your face type of atmosphere. He's not Jordan or Kobe, this simmering, KG was a simmering dude that really kind of had people walking on eggshells. They don't do that around Ant. He empowers people around him. You were around Kirby more than, I was a fan when he was playing, but that's what it feels like to me. We're getting closer to, if people ask what was Kirby like, I feel like there's Ant there.
Yeah, it's a good comparison, and it's way more valid than the Moss Ant comparison.
Yes.
Let's get into that in a second. First, tell us about True Vision Institute.
True Vision Institute in Bloomington. Go down to go to truevision.com. Get online, set up your appointment. When you go there to look at vision correction at True Vision, they give you this just incredibly thorough consultation. They ask you questions, they give you some examinations, and they make sure that they find what is the right approach for you individually. There is no pressure. There is no sales pitch. There's just a really good, informative conversation about what would be the best route for you to take. For me, I had LASIK surgery, and I've had it we're coming up on a year now. It was last July, and it has changed my life. It has been one of the best things I've ever done for myself, was to get LASIK surgery at True Vision. And I've told you this before, but it bears repeating. The experience and the people at True Vision are so friendly and warm and inviting that is like, I'd go back tomorrow and have it again if I needed it. It's just that good. So go to truevision.com, set up your consultation, go in there, tell them the Jon Krawczynski Show sent you, get yourself going towards starting life anew with LASIK surgery, with vision correction from True Vision.
Thanks also to Head Flyer Brewing. Next time we do a show at Head Flyer, we will celebrate John's 500th episode.
Can't wait to do that, because I've talked to the folks at Head Flyer. Until you don't wait for the live show to go,
no.
Because the crowds and the atmosphere in Head Flyer for these Wolves games are incredible. They have a bunch of TVs, easy to sit in a big open tap room and watch with your friends, with your coworkers, with your family, and have some great beers and have a great time watching these games. Reminder that they do stay open late for the West Coast games, the late start games. So if you go there and you start a game at Head Flyer, you're going to finish a game at Head Flyer. They have drink specials. Get yourself some Crunch Time beer. My collaboration with them, Wicked Jump Shot, is another favorite of mine, but they have any kind of flavor and style you could want under the sun. They have THC seltzers. They have all sorts of different things that you could ever want. So go to Head Flyer Brewing in Northeast Minneapolis and tell them the Jon Krawczynski Show sent you again. Just have yourself a good time, cheer on the Wolves, and have great beer while you're doing it.
Before we get back to Ant and Kirby, last but never least, Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line.
SGLambchops.com is the place to go. Use the promo code JONK20. You can have all sorts of great casual wear at Lamb Chops. They have hoodies, they have t-shirts, they have sweatpants, shorts, hats, everything you want. I have one of the most comfortable sweaters that I own is a Lamb Chop sweater. It's really stylish. It looks great. I love to wear it. I've always said they're the best shorts that I've ever worn are the Lamb Chop shorts. And if you use the promo code JONK20, you'll get 20% off anything at Lamb Chops. See Jordan and Craig courtside at the Wolves games, at Lynx games. They are part of this community. They support us. And so we want to support them as well. And at the end of this show, we will answer a Twitter question. And if you get chosen, you'll get a free giveaway from Lamb Chops. So big ups to Lamb Chops for supporting us over the years, for giving back to the fans with these Twitter question kind of promotions. So go in there, go online, use that promo code JONK20 and get to shopping at Lamb Chops Clothing.
Thank you all. We do appreciate it. So, listen, when we talk about comparisons, no comparisons are exact, right? No two human beings are exact. But I think you're hitting on some really key points here. Kirby had his problems away from the game. And I knew him very well. And, we had a lot of conversations about life. And back then, you talk about the Timberwolves being accessible. The Twins back in the old days, if they knew you and they trusted, the access was ridiculous. I mean, I'd sit and talk to Kirby for an hour before or after a game, just sitting there and talk. So I think what you're hitting on is joyful, joyful part of an organization, joyful teammate, joyful competitor, buoyant, wants to lift other people up, wants to be in the middle of the room, wants to be in the middle of the conversations. That is, and embraces the big moment, because we wouldn't, the way sports work, we wouldn't love Kirby's personality as much if he also hadn't delivered in the clutch. Right.
Yeah. And of course, Ant still has that final box to check, a championship, right? But yes, we see his sense of the moment. That's what Chris Finch likes to talk about a lot with Ant, is he has a sense for the moment. And we saw it in Game 4. In the third quarter, he just said, enough is enough. I'm taking this thing over and I'm taking us home. And he's done that over and over again in the playoffs. He is the best playoff performer, I believe, in Timberwolves history now. He's now made 2 Western Conference Finals. KG had some unbelievable moments in his Wolves tenure. In the playoffs, including Game 7 against Sacramento. But Ant has been consistently great from the first playoffs he stepped into against Memphis, Game 1 of that series, to where he is now. He has been excellent. And so I thought that this series was really interesting, and watching him navigate it. The Warriors were clear in Game 5, putting 2 on him, saying, you're not going to beat us. Well, he actually did beat you because he had 12 assists and 7 rebounds, 3 block shots. He had 22 points. He only took 15 shots. He had 5 threes. So he didn't go for 40, but he played incredible. I thought, other than the 7 turnovers. The turnovers were rough, but he was so patient. He was so mature. He was throwing lob passes to Jaden McDaniels. He was incorporating everyone. And so that kind of sense of, I am going to do whatever it takes kind of thing is starting to come to the forefront with Ant, I think, like it did with Kirby. Now, I mean, Kirby is the legend of legends in my mind here because of the 2 championships and the way that he played in those World Series. But Ant is heading that way. If he could do this, whether it's this year or down the road, I think he's really inching up close to that hallowed ground. And I like to have this conversation now, Jim, because I do think we are getting to a point where maybe some people have forgotten about Kirby, or, just we are that far removed from it that it's easy to now you think, okay, the greats of Minnesota sports, you do think Moss. Now you're thinking Justin Jefferson. Now you're thinking, Joe Mauer, Torrey Hunter, those types of players. Well, no, Kirby is one of one. Like, he's on Mount Rushmore for us. And so, nice to bring him back into the fold, into the conversation a little bit.
Yes. And the other difference here is that they won 80. Kirby was their best player in 87, but he didn't have the huge moment in 87. They won. Mm-hmm. He was a part of a good team. Herbeck had a big moment. Morris had the big moment. Gladden and Larkin had the big moments. Kirby didn't play badly in that series, but he didn't win that series. I'm sorry. I just mixed up my two World Series. In 87, he was part of a good team. He was their best player, but he didn't have the big moment. 91, he did have the big moment. Game 6 set up Game 7. And without that home run, the Twins don't win that second world title. He was also the best player all year. So the difference here, though, is that baseball players just don't have the impact that basketball players do. You can't hand Kirby the puck of the ball and say you're running every possession. He's got to come up the right time. There's an element of luck and timing that he's got to, not only does he have to be great and seize the moment, he's got to be lucky enough to come up at the right moment. With Ant, you can hand him the ball and tell him to go win a game.
Yes. And he can do it in multiple ways, right? Yeah. Kirby won it with his glove in his bat in Game 6, of course, but Ant can win it passing the ball. He can win it defensively. He can win it scoring. He can win it shooting threes. He can win it dunking. He can win it getting to the line. That's the kind of player that he is. And yes, that's the kind of imprint that one singular player can put on a basketball game. And there have been several players that have come through post KG, including my guy Cat, but Love, Wiggins, even Levine for a little bit, Jimmy Butler. And you see them and you say, okay, maybe this is our guy. Maybe this is our guy. And they never were really that guy. But Ant is clearly, he's that guy. He's the one. And so he just continually levels up in these moments. And I thought one of the most impressive parts of Game 5 was his post-game press conference. He was very subdued. He was very controlled. He was actually whispering to Rudy Gobert a few times to be like, don't say that, say this. And he is message setting at an advanced level for a 23-year-old. I remember Game 7 in Denver last year when it was a euphoric celebration about beating the Nuggets, going to the Western Conference Finals for the first time in 20 years. The atmosphere and the mood. I was talking to Rudy Gobert in the locker room after the game, and he's like, this is kind of weird. Like, we're happy, but this is just the next step. Like, we don't think this is a big deal anymore. Like, this is not the be all and end all. There are bigger goals in mind. And so there was a very muted celebration in that locker room last night. They expected to be in this spot and they want to go further. And Ant is the one who is really kind of setting that tone and hitting those notes. And I think it's going to help them going into the next round, no matter who they face.
One more observation, and then the Twitter question. It was a kind of a bizarre game. Way too many turnovers, and yet the ball movement and passing when they weren't turning it over was brilliant. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing going forward.
Yeah, 36 assists on 49 makes, 63%, unbelievable. They were, let me do the quick math here. So they shot 63% field goals, 13 of 31 from 3, which is 42%, which is great. But that means they were 36 for 47 from 2. And that is all from ball movement. Yep. That's from getting good looks, getting guys moving toward the basket. It was high level offensive execution. And you're right, Jim, aside from 21 turnovers, 5 for Julius, 7 for Ant, 3 for Jaden. And so I'll say this. Generally speaking, they've been much better at taking care of the ball in the playoffs than they were in the regular season. 2 things that I think contributed to the 21 turnovers. One is the Golden State Warriors are really good defensively. Let's just say that. They deserve credit for how hard they played, even though I think they all knew after Steph went out, they weren't winning this series.
Yeah.
And yet they still I mean, they fought their butts off and made things hard on the Wolves on a lot of these games. And I do think that if the Wolves play the Thunder in the next round, the Warriors will be much better preparation for the Thunder than the Lakers were for the Warriors in terms of just the defensive intensity, kind of what the Wolves are going to face that way. So that was good for the Warriors. Secondly, though, with Steph on the bench and how anemic the Warriors offense was, I just don't think the Wolves ever really thought that the Warriors could hurt them. I don't think they played with the same edge that you might see them play against Denver or against OKC, because, this is a character flaw of the Wolves. They sometimes relax and don't take their opponents seriously. And I don't think they took the Warriors as seriously without Steph as probably they should have, even though they still won 4 games in a row and dispatched them. 2 of them were fairly comfortable victories, but they just were messing around with the game a little bit because they just weren't ever worried. They are going to have to be worried next round, no matter who they play. And so I do think you'll see a cleaner game, or at least a more focused game. Maybe they will turn the OKC is really good at turning you over. Denver's pretty good at it too. Maybe that still will come, but it won't be the same style of turnover, of sloppiness and laziness and just lack of urgency that we saw in several games against the Warriors this series.
Exactly. Great stuff. Let's get to the Chew Vision. Sorry, I messed that up. Let us get to the Lamb Chops Twitter question of the day. Sorry, I've been stumbling around a lot. I'm thinking way too much about the Timberwolves.
There's so much going on. Yeah. So a reminder, go to sglambchops.com, JONK20 for 20% off anything at Lamb Chops. The question of the day comes from Reggie Peterson. Do you feel like there is a closeout Rudy? He's been so offensively until the closeout games. Then he catches and finishes everything and dominates. It's not a bad connection there, Reggie. He was really, really good in Game 5 after being. He was very good defensively all the way through this series, but he just was not very involved. And he was, and there were a couple of games where he looked really bad catching the ball, especially early in the series. And he came through in a major way in Game 5. 17 points, 8 rebounds, a block, plus 21 in the plus minus, the best on the team. And you could see that the Wolves were a little bit more playing with a little more intent to try and get him involved. He was 8 for 9 from the field. And we all remember 27 and 24 against the Lakers in the closeout Game 5 in Los Angeles. I do think that you do see Rudy play with a little bit more urgency and focus on the offensive end in these big time games. He really, really wants to win here. He really wants to get to his first finals. And the one thing that I had wondered about Reggie was I would wonder if he would put too much pressure on himself, and that would actually be a bad thing for him with the offense. But in this, what we have seen from him in this playoff so far is it's been a very good thing. He's played much cleaner. He looks much more comfortable, and he has really come through in big moments, and he deserves a lot of credit. And we can get into this, later. But Jim, now the Rudy Gobert trade is an absolute smash hit for the Wolves. For everyone who talked about worst trade ever, all of this stuff, they are now in 2 straight Western Conference Finals. They have made the playoffs every year. Ant, Jaden, Nas, these young guys are playing in really meaningful games. Rudy has been a huge part of it. That is a no doubt about it win for the Timberwolves in this trade. And we can close the books on that and move forward.
And I still remember very intelligent basketball fans and analysts I know were appalled that they would trade for an old point guard named Mike Conley.
Yep.
And he's been perfect for this organization.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, that's the best trade that has ever been made in Timberwolves history. Mike Conley and Nickeil Alexander-Walker and 3 second-round picks for D'Angelo Russell. Like that. I mean,
Steve.
It's just an absolute heist of a deal. And they are reaping the benefits of it.
It's a reverse Herschel.
How about that? See, again, Wolves fans, see, good things are finally happening. Embrace it. Drop the toxicity, drop the angst, and just have some fun with this one.
No doubt. Great stuff, John. And yes, everybody enjoy this show. I appreciate you listening. Enjoy the Wolves. This is a special time to be a Timberwolves fan. We'll talk to you next week.